Welcome to Defenders of Craft, a Craft Pride podcast, bringing you the heart and soul of beer culture in Austin and around Texas. This is Defenders of Craft, episode 1. We're sitting down with Zach Gardner from Red Horn Brewing Company.
What's up, guys?
How you doing, Zach?
Fantastic. I like to think that you only asked me to be on the first episode because I'm like 5 minutes down the road.
It definitely helped. Your proximity to my house was a big factor.
Fantastic.
That and you guys have excellent beers, and you were the closest bar to my house. So I'll be spending a lot more time there just because it's 15 minutes to your house or it's 15 minutes to Mopac. So it's like I could take 15 minutes to get to a highway to take me to another place, or I can take 15 minutes and have a beer in my hand. So it's
Excellent.
Pretty nice.
Well, thanks for having me. Sorry the other guys couldn't make it, but we got a few charity events we're taking part of today, so they had to kind of spread themselves out along with kids' birthdays. And
man, I understand kids' birthdays are really popular in the like brew pub craft beer scene these days.
I guess so. I am childless. I'm dogless. Got the girlfriend who is just sitting down, keeping the dog quiet, and visiting from Houston this weekend, and she's patient enough to join us here today. But otherwise, yeah, I don't have anything tying me down. So,
hey, girlfriend, do you want to come be our ghost voice? We have an extra microphone set up. Well, come on, come sit down and talk with us. So, how are you today?
I'm doing well.
What's your name?
Morgan.
Morgan. You want to give me a last name for the microphone?
Oh, sure. I'm Morgan Burgess.
All right, Morgan Burgess here, sitting in on our session. What are we drinking here, Zach?
So we're starting off with a collaboration we did with the Brutorium, who's hopefully going to be opening up midway through next month. Whitney Roberts and Chris Rauschschreiber. Sorry, Chris.
We'll just call him Rauschbier.
Yeah,
just Chris Rauschbier.
Sure.
That'll work for me.
Chris Rauschbier. So we're getting well lubricated with a few beers during our July Texas Craft Brewers Guild meetup over at Red Horn, and we started to just kind of kick some ideas around. And I was like, you guys aren't opening for a little while, so how about y'all come over and we do something weird? We got some open capacity, and so a few beers later, and we started to talk a little bit more, and we decided to kind of do a nice late summer beer to match up with the warm weather in late September and August. So this is going to be the base is based off of their soon to be year round Lightning Wizard wit beer. It's about 65% flaked malt, so that was definitely an interesting brew. Lots and lots of rice holes. We crossed our fingers the whole time, and thankfully didn't get a stuck mash on that. But very basic Pilsner flaked wheat. Just use a little bit of Columbus for bittering, but we decided to mix it up and do a kind of a light kettle sour. Let that go for about 3 days at a little bit warmer temperature. That caused it to not acidify quite as much, so it finished at about 3.6 pH. And we fermented it with WLP, I believe 644 is their Saccharomyces bruxellensis Trois for years and years when they first released that. I think early 2000s. Everybody in the brewing community thought it was a Brettanomyces strain, and then finally a DNA sequence was done on it past couple years and discovered it's actually a Saccharomyces that just behaves like Brett. Ferments slow as hell. It's kind of a pain in the ass to work with, but it produces a really cool beer. It has some nice tropical flavor, some nice kind of clean hay and grassy notes with it. But yeah, we didn't really know what to expect going into it. We just wanted to do something fun, something a little different, it's actually probably my favorite beer that we have out. Right.
Yeah, I got to say, it's really great. I do love the tropical kind of like fruity thing going on with it that you expect from a lot of beers in this style and color. But I think that it finishes really well. And thanks for all that technical information that just like went way over everybody's head, because there's like one guy who's going to hear this and he's like, that guy knows what the fuck he's talking about.
Damn.
That is awesome.
I'm going to play that back and take notes.
Yeah, either that or there's probably 2 or 3 guys going, this guy doesn't know what the hell he's talking about.
I don't know about that Zach Gardner guy.
Man, we get schooled all the time by home brewers, and it's just like, man, stop talking because you're talking over my head right now. Yeah. So
I'm sorry. What was it that you do for a living? Oh, that's right. You're a computer coder. I forgot. I'm a brewer that works at a brewery. My bad.
Hey, no, I appreciate those guys. I realize I approach the brewing side from kind of more the artistic culinary side.
It comes with the territory of every hobby, though. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
as somebody that takes photos, you inevitably run into people who only care about like how a lens renders a picture of a brick wall. So I kind of feel like people that'll give you guff about whether or not it's in style or done the right way versus how it tastes or how it realizes your vision is very much the same dichotomy.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, we really like to experiment. We're a 7-barrel brewery, so we, have a lot of ability to be flexible and agile in what we do. And, we can experiment a lot, and if something doesn't come out the way we want it, sometimes it's a happy accident, and sometimes we'll just have to, kind of do away with a batch, or, if we got extra barrels, we're just throw in a mixed culture and see what happens with it. Sometimes it's great, sometimes it goes down the drain, but that's one of the joys of being a brew pub. We can really kind of do what we want. Limited risk, it sucks pouring beer down the drain and you just lost money, but also I really just want to put something that I, really poured a lot of time and effort and heart and soul into.
Well, when we had
flushing it down the drain,
that Red Horn tap takeover recently, we had the Beach Bear cask with blueberry and rosemary, was it?
Holy
It was
shit,
lavender.
that was good.
Lavender.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
all Emmanuel's idea. We just we threw it together the best we could, and man, that came out so much better than I ever could hope for.
Yeah, are we ever going to see that again? Because that was amazing. Like even if it's like a full production on draft kind of thing, like that would be an awesome seasonal spring thing.
Yeah, so Beach Bears are late summer pale ale, so that starts off late June, early July is when it comes back, and we run it through September. So we're on our last, I think, 1.5 kegs right now in the pub. So we're not going to see it again this year, but we're playing around with maybe doing some additional lagers next year. We could certainly do it with our Trail Runner. So we do have some light beer platforms that we could kind of jump off that and do a couple of one-off kegs. I think we're definitely going to revisit a version of that blueberry lavender combination with the light beer. What the base beer is, I don't know, but for our anniversary party, we have a cask on hand that we'll probably throw together, and we can always do casks on.
Can you just
on
name
request,
it EB and the Funky Bunch? Just for me.
Well, if you come and help us dump everything into the keg or cask, we can certainly.
Does
talk about
watching
it.
with the beer in my
Shake and
hand
bake,
count as
yeah.
helping? Because I can do that.
I'll talk to Joe and the Pine House guys. And, I mean, whenever I went over there for our first Horn Puncher collab, which the second version of the Horn Puncher, we're going to have at Partners in Craft on the 29th at, day before Texas Craft Brewers Fest.
Horn Puncher will actually be available at the Craft Brewers Fest after party as well.
will be.
That's going to
It
be
will
hosted
be.
at Craft Pride, just down the street from Fiesta Gardens. We have over 20 beers that'll be tapped specialty just for the party. Live music starting at 4 past midnight. It's going to be a hell of a party. You going to come out for that?
If I can stand, and if I could use my phone to call a lift, if I can use my phone and call a lift to get me over there safely, I certainly will.
Did you
But-
hear about the partnership between actually Lyft and the Texas Craft Brewers Festival? They're the official rideshare of the festival with discount codes for anyone who has yet to use their services.
Yeah. I mean, I've used their services plenty. Being in the beer industry is kind of a necessity. But yeah, I've seen their branding all over, and it's who I've been using the past couple years, and yeah, they're
they're
great.
pretty good.
I mean, I've gotten home safely multiple times, so
Yeah, well, there you go.
Can't knock them.
Yeah, well, that and you're a 6-foot man that's rather stocky. I don't think anybody's going to try to take advantage of you in the back of a lift.
6'6", so 6 inches count. I mean,
Jesus.
yeah.
You're a very tall man. No, you
Don't-
won't be
don't
able to
show
know
me
that.
half
I
foot.
don't think you're the demographic concerned about like I need this driver to be fingerprinted because they might try something.
Yeah, you never know. I've met some small people that are stronger than I am. I hate to admit.
Nice.
But no, like first time I went over to Pint House to do that collab for the first Horn Puncher, they made sure I always had a beer in my hand. I think Trevor and Joel made it their personal goal to see how fated they can get me that day, because every time I was finishing up a beer, one of them was walking up with another one. But no matter how much I begged to help and, brew, they just told me, hey, stand back, just watch, enjoy. Here's a beer. Here's another beer. Enjoy this beer. Try this beer. So we make sure to do the same whenever people come over
That's
to
the part where
to
I'm
our
not
club
really
for
sure
collaborations.
why we're not supposed to be legally able to collaborate. It's like, man, I can stand around and drink beer while people work all day.
Well, my understanding, and John, one of our he's our principal partner, one of our owners. He's kind of our TABC guy, but it seems like there's not too much issue doing collaborations inter-tier. So as long as we're collaborating with the brew pub, it seems to be all right to to kind of have that out in the open. But where it really gets kind of gray in the letter of the law is whether or not a brew pub and a production brewery, as far as licensure or licensing goes, whether or not they can actually co-brand something or share ingredients or whatever.
Let's talk about the core values of Red Horn. What is it that you guys are all about? What is it that you'd like everyone to know about your business model, and what it is that makes you unique from some of the other breweries in the North Austin area?
Well, our company motto is "Do good, be positive, have fun," and really that's what we're all about. When we were getting started, we really all kind of wanted to bring something unique to the suburbs. You got some of the the originators of the craft beer scene up there. You got Brass Tap Round Rock. You got the guys at Dig Pub, and can't knock what they've done. They've really brought craft beer to the North Austin area and to the suburbs, and everybody else just kind of followed them out. And we
kind of creating an oasis in the desert.
Oh, exactly. And we really do appreciate them kind of getting started. And we work with those guys a lot, and we really like them being there. We're regular patrons of them, but we saw an opportunity to kind of get in that in between spot right there at Palmer and 1431, and like you were saying, there's really nothing super close out there. The way the roads are, especially with this new intersection they put up there, if anybody comes out to visit us that's never been out there before, prepare for this crazy, what they call continual flow intersection that may or may not make it an absolute,
Yeah,
I'm not going to say nightmare, but challenge to
Yeah,
to
I
get
left
to
Red
it.
Horn the other day after drinking 2 or 3 of those tropical milkshakes, and I was very confused.
Yeah.
Because
Well,
that
years-
intersection is terrifying.
I mean, even with
years
3
ago,
or 4
I used
coffees,
to work at
it's-
Egos on South Congress.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if you've ever been to this bar, but it's in a parking garage under a building.
Oh yeah, yep.
And I kind of feel like having something like that built into your establishment gives you a way of knowing whether or not people should or shouldn't be driving.
Fair enough.
You know? It's like, if you can't manage to navigate this intersection, then maybe you should park it and sober up a bit.
Yeah.
No, I got big tires on my truck. I'll just roll right over that median. It's not that big of a deal.
We've seen it before, in that U-turn when you're going northbound on Palmer just before it turns into Ronald Reagan at 1431. No U-turns, but we see a lot of people, not necessarily leaving Red Horn, but we see a lot of people just pulling those quick illegal U's to
I make
just
that
get where
red.
they're trying to go.
Yeah, I make that on the reg.
But
It's just because now that I live in this area, I go down to 1431 on a semi-regular basis. There's a Torchy's Tacos over there, and that's pretty good.
Oh yeah, we had it for lunch today. The Tuk Tuk, man. That's
Nice.
I went every single year for the Tuk Tuk month, man, and knock those down 5 at a time without even thinking. But I mean, I grew up in the Westlake area, so I'm Austin area born and bred, if you will. But John and Chad, both family guys, they wanted to live down in Austin, but with prices skyrocketing downtown, they really moved out.
Oh yeah,
to,
I live out here now too.
Yeah. They, they moved their families out, good schools, good quality of life out here, and at a relatively affordable price. So, they moved their families out, and they're like, man, there's really no breweries at the time, anyways. When we were getting, ready to open. Now, just along 1431, there's, I think, 3.
Yeah, who's that?
have
That's
opened up.
you, Whitestone,
And Thousand Oaks.
Thousand Oaks.
So the brewery formerly Iron Sight. Those two partners split and parted ways, and one of the partners maintained the spot. Grady Reynolds. I actually went to high school with him. He graduated a year before I did. yeah, he maintained the building of the permit, changed the name to Thousand Oaks, and we're finally able to get that operation up and running. So him and his brewer David are doing some pretty good stuff out there. Very, very small, I think, 3-barrel system out there. No, Thousand Oaks does a rye blonde, which is kind of their standard, and they got a really solid, just classic amber ale. They're releasing a red IPA, which is kind of a malt forward red IPA, but it has a really nice balance to it. They got a porter that's coming out pretty soon. But
I saw Real Ales moving into distilling now too.
they are.
Yeah, that Real
It
Spirits
seems to-
program looks fantastic.
I'm just waiting until
I
we
really
can get
like
barrels.
when there's crossovers like that, because I mean, like Ranger Creek down in San Antonio, whenever they do barrel aged beers with bourbon and stuff, it's like you taste it and you're like, damn, those guys know what is up with whiskey.
Oh yeah.
And that's kind of how I feel about y'all's beer with coffee. So like, what came first for you guys, the coffee or the beer?
So man, this goes back years and years. So John, I'll bring him up again. He unfortunately is an Aggie. I'm a Longhorn, so there's a little bit of a double meaning to House United, which is our house flagship beer. It's a coffee stout. But John, back in College Station, worked at a coffee roastery and coffee house called Sweet Eugene's, and I believe he was a manager out there for a year or two after, or towards the end of college and a little bit after college, before he moved to Seguin to start working in a parks department. But yeah, he was working there and really kind of got into the coffee house vibe, and always kind of thought, man, maybe I'd like to do this, again someday. So a couple years ago, he started to look around at spots and tried to open up a coffee house called Flipside, and just never really came to fruition. And he a couple years later, he and our other owner Chad, they were on a combined family vacation. They were driving back from Florida, and kids and wives were all sleeping, and they were just kind of kicking around some ideas, wasting the time, watching the miles go by. And they were like, let's try and do this, but let's incorporate beer into it. And they're like, well, why stop there? Let's roast our own coffee. Well, if we're roasting our own coffee, why not make our own beer? So it kind of started like that. I think it was about 4 years ago now. And I believe it was late 2013. They really kind of started to put their nose to the grindstone and really start to hammer it out and kind of what they wanted it to look like. And early 2014 was when they first reached out to me. I met John when I was right out of college. I was working for a local home building and land development company, and John came and worked with that group for a couple months, and I would bring my homebrew in, and he tasted it and reached out to me after not talking for 3 years and was like, hey, you still brewing? Are you interested in maybe brewing professionally? And I at the time was kind of skeptical. Everybody in the Brothers starting up a brewery. I was like, okay, yeah, sure. Let's see where this goes. But yeah, I'll help you out. And if you're willing to pay for my homebrewing ingredients and some new equipment. Oh yeah, I'm all in. Yeah.
So Red Horn was your first place that you ever brewed professionally?
Yes. So I put in some volunteer hours. I miss Lovejoy's, but Todd Henry and all the folks over at Lovejoy's put a lot of time over there drinking and watching Todd in the back, and he let me do a little bit of stuff. But yeah, no, that was really my first taste of just kind of getting behind the scenes. And I was still doing some home building stuff, and Adelbert's was getting opened up on Rutland, and we had a kind of like a display design center warehouse out there. I was working on remodeling for the company I was working for at the time, so I poked in as much as I could there, and tried to do whatever I could. And I'd come over in like my khakis and my nice shoes and buttoned down, tucked in, and I was like, all right, Scott, I got like 3 hours. Put me to work. He's like, dress like that? And I'm like, sure, one. But yeah, I mean, really, I would just brew all the time, 2, sometimes 3 times a week. And it got to the point to where neither I or my friends, let's use proper grammar. We're not heathens here.
Hey, speak for yourself. I may be a heathen. You don't know my affiliations.
I just try to project a competency for the English language. I'm actually horrible at it. But anyways, yeah, I couldn't drink all the beer I was making. I tried, and eventually I was like, well, this isn't going to last long if I
Isn't that the
if I try and drink
the
through all
Bluebell
this.
business model? Of
Yeah, right. Yeah,
work? They're like,
yeah.
make
Unfortunately,
as much as beer as we can, and then sell the rest.
yeah. Drink what we can and sell the rest, right? So, I mean, I tried to pawn off as much as I could in my friends, as much as I could in my family, and yeah, I wasn't even getting through half of it. So that's when I started to bring beer to work, and where John first got a taste for my homemade wares. So, yeah. Every Wednesday, I'd send out an email with the boss's permission. I was like, here's what I have on tap. Like, just tell me by tomorrow at lunch what you want, and I will bring you a growler. I'll give you the glass. Just please bring it back if you can. And I was like, yeah, just give me feedback. Like,
Yeah.
I just need to move through this. So if I can, if I can get good feedback, if I can keep brewing and doing my hobby, great.
Do you feel like you had a beer at the time that was like kind of your flagship, or like something that really kind of
Yeah.
blew up for you, or that you really liked?
Yeah, so the one that was most popular amongst me and my friends and my family, being a Longhorn, I love Bevo. So I made a beer called Horny Steer, and it was a hoppy amber with a lot of Willamette and Simcoe in it, and
sounds good.
that just became a super popular beer amongst. I think the name had a lot to do with it, but popular beer for tailgates. Popular beer for graduation parties. I had a buddy that graduated. He started school a little bit later. He graduated a little bit later. So rented out a big house. We had a huge house party. It was a good time. And Keg of Horny Steer was there with I think a backup of Shiner Bock, which, I mean, hey.
Hey, at least you were on first,
Yeah.
Can't beat that.
Oh, yeah. No, but that was probably my homebrew hit. We're yet to brew a version of that at Red Horn, but one of these days.
Was that the one that kind of got you the in on starting with Red Horn?
I really don't know what beer, and I don't even know if John could tell you what beer really struck him.
Mm-hmm.
But, they really started to taste kind of what I was, cranking out once we actually sat down and we were like, okay, let's work on these styles. And I started our actual core development. And that's really when they got a taste of my beer, and they're like, okay, we can still back out, but we don't want to. So they kept me around. And, I was working with those guys for a couple of months, and then John left his job, which very good job with a national home building company a week before his second child was born. And I was like, wow, this guy is either crazy or he is determined to make this work.
Yeah.
So, that's when I really kind of started to buy in. And I was like, okay, so this is more than just a pipe dream. This is more than just talk. Like, we're getting serious. Awesome. I'm getting really excited. And then Chad, who was a teacher in Round Rock ISD, didn't renew his contract the summer of 2014, or after the summer of 2014. And so I was like, wow, all right, both these guys are now, one income households, and they are full on committed. And they started to be like, Zach, when are you leaving? When are you leaving? And I was like, I tried to push it off as much as I could, but we signed the lease on our building, and I was like, all right, man, it is really time to start hitting it and trying to get open. And so we're coming up on my 3rd year anniversary with officially being on payroll with the company.
So what was the
this October.
first day that you sold beer? It was like the very first day that you guys opened for business. Like, here you go. There's beer. Come and get it.
March 11th, 2015. So that's our anniversary, and we're lucky. Our first 2 years, it fell on weekends. And I think this year that day falls maybe on a Sunday. I don't know. I'll have to look at the calendar for next year. But March 11th, 2015, we were not ready to open. We were still putting together furniture that morning. I think we were at the shop until 3 or 4 o'clock that morning, and I think Jared, our coffee manager, and I probably slept or tried to sleep. The excitement, we couldn't get over it. We couldn't really get much sleep. But we opened up, I think, at like 11 o'clock. We kind of did like a staggered opening. We opened kind of for a late morning, then we closed until proper nighttime drinking hours. But it was a Wednesday, so it wasn't too crazy. But I mean, that second day we were open, that Thursday, we had a line out the door on the 12th. And
folks are thirsty up here, and so there's not a lot of breweries that are, like you said, there's not a lot of breweries in the area, and having to drive all the way to town to get a tasty beer seems unreasonable.
And perhaps we're unique. I'm not sure how many other brew pubs actually do this, but we didn't have any beer of our own until mid-April. So we opened mid-March, and we didn't have beer till the next month. We were just like, we got to get open. When we first signed our lease, we're like, oh man, we'll get build out done. We'll be open by October. Well, maybe we'll be open, like just before Thanksgiving. Well, you know what? Let's skip December, Christmas, and all that, but right after New Year's. And then we were like, screw it. February's not happening. March. So about 3 weeks out, we set March 11th. This is the date. And ready or not, like, we have beer. So we started to get our first kegs delivered before we even got power on our walk-in cooler kicked on. So thankfully it was still cold out. So we chained some kegs up outside behind our shop to some railings so they didn't grow legs and walk off. So we kept kegs cold that way. We had our reach-in fridge, which is now in our kitchen, and we tested the strength of the bottom of that fridge because we had half barrel and 50 liters like stacked too high on that. Just try to keep it as cold as we could, as long as we could, and I think we even got some trash cans that packed some on ice in a bit of desperation. But eventually that cooler got kicked on, and we had.
A normal working facility. As even expected.
Yeah, we were cleaning lines as our first customers were walking in. So, we opened up with 33 guest taps. We used to have a kombucha on tap. We used to have one cider, one mead, and we've kind of expanded that a little bit. But, we didn't have our nitro coffee. We didn't even have our coffee roaster kicked up. We teamed up with Wild Gift to provide us guest roaster coffee. We still do work a lot with them. They help us supplement our coffee program. Our espresso is still Wild Gift.
Do you do many coffee collaborations like that?
We use Wild Gift, Costa Rican coffee, or actually I think it was Brazilian Fazenda. What was the name of the bean that we used for our very first batch of House United? So Clancy Rose, one of the founders of Wild Gift, formerly of Cuvée, and split off to do his own thing. He was super excited to try that, and so were we. We were just happy to have beer out.
I'm just curious because like my friend that does coffee the way that a lot of people do homebrew, he's just starting his own like coffee roasting independent business kind of that he's like delivering to people and so on and so forth.
Yeah. So as far as I know, I really don't handle any of the coffee stuff. That's kind of Jared's side of the business. But I think Wild Gift is really the only outside coffee producer that we're doing business with. We just got in with them in our infancy, and it worked out. We really like those guys and good folks. So,
I really like their Rude Boy. Rude Boy, that's a good coffee.
Rude Boy and Troublemaker, man. Those are our two espresso beans. We just kind of go back and forth, and
Nice.
Yeah, they give you a nice little jolt. Super smooth, but Rude Boy, yeah, that's killer, man.
That's good.
That's my favorite one by the way.
So, being in the North Austin area, you kind of have to be family friendly. It's like kind of the thing because there's families that's right around you. So if you isolate those people and you don't serve them and you don't make it a place that's comfortable for them to bring their children, you're going to not do so well. And so Red Horn is one of the places that kind of surprised me how family friendly it was, because there's not a lot of space you would think for like kids to actually hang out. But when I go, there's definitely kids hanging out, whether they're John's kids, they're there frequently, or just other people who happen to be there. Like while mom's sipping an espresso, they're like drinking some iced tea or something like that, hanging out while I'm like getting day drunk. And it's a very almost like a little bit uncomfortable, but at the same time, like I have a daughter. And so I'm not that concerned about it. But has that ever given you guys any trouble or anything like that when like people like maybe stay a little too late with their kids and there's like starting to get rowdy folks around?
That's never really been much of a concern for us. We never planned not to be family friendly. And, one of the benefits of being up in the suburbs is we have a kind of I'm not going to say older demographic, but I'd say a more experienced in drinking demographic versus what you would see downtown. So most folks know how to behave themselves. It's rare that we really have too many issues.
That's something I like about our bar, actually. Like, being an exclusively craft beer bar doesn't attract as much of the like woo crowd of 6th Street or anything.
Yeah. So,
dealing with mature people is awesome, isn't it?
When you're dealing with alcohol, there's always mishaps. No matter how hard you try to prevent them, things do happen. But generally, we have very very few issues, and we sometimes have folks in there with their kids, older or younger. right up till close most nights, even on Fridays and Saturdays. You know, and you know, some people that don't want their you know, kids around that, they know, you know, well, this is a bar, this is also a brewery in addition to a coffee house. So, you know, they've kind of figured out when they want to have their kids around and not, but we really have no restrictions on it, and that was our intent, to create a family friendly place. High ceilings, wide open, relatively well lit even in the evenings, but still comfortable. You know, it's a pretty wide open space. We got nice amount of soft seating. We got a deck with some deck games, cornhole boards and whatnot to entertain folks drinking and kids just bored and looking to entertain themselves alike. So
Nice.
it's amazing how many people after a few beers enjoy the same things that the kids do. We got lots of board games and all that.
Speaking
as well,
of a few beers, I think we all have empty glasses here.
Yeah,
And I
it-
have this very cold crowler full of delicious beers. So let's do that.
Yeah, let's do that. It's kind of funny how I think I Oh,
Isn't
yeah,
it?
it's
That's
great.
it's so great. I just really wanted to get that on the microphone.
call up Alan Jackson, man. He need to remix Papa Top. But no, it's funny. I think I picked up this empty cup about 4 or 5 times trying to drink out of it.
I just kept looking longingly at mine.
So can you tell us what we're drinking here? This is the tropical milkshake from Red Horn.
Yeah,
We'll
yeah.
pass it down.
So inspired by the work that Omnipolo and Tired Hands were doing. Honestly, before we brewed our very first batch, I guess late last year, is our raspberry grapefruit version. I had never had a Tired Hands Omnipolo milkshake IPA before, so we kind of went into it blind, and I was just kind of intrigued, you know, with the whole idea. But a lot of articles at the time were coming out, and I was like, you know, nobody around here has really done that. You know, I don't want to look at it as a ripoff, but more of an homage. Like I was saying earlier, you know, we have the agility as a small brewery to really kind of experiment and try some different stuff. So we brewed I think a 4 or 5 barrel batch of it, just to see how it would turn out. And I was really excited because I was like, this is either going to really suck or really be awesome. There's not really a whole lot of room to be in between on this. When you're dumping in 50 pounds of lactose to an IPA, who knows?
Well, I got to say, it's
thankfully it turned
fantastic.
out.
I really love this version of it. The coconut and the pineapple are just like magic in the palate.
Yeah. We had we've had a few versions of this. So the whole idea is just kind of for it to be rotating. Up to this point, we've just used fruits, but we do plan to do a mocha milkshake down the road, and perhaps kind of use that as a springboard into hopefully some more interesting, you know, types of milkshakes. We have a we have a goza that we use some basil in, and you know, we've used a lot of lemon peel and some other stuff, and I think those could be kind of fun, different, interesting you know, flavor additions to add. But we started off with the original, which we now brand, just since it's starting to grow and grow, and we have plans to kind of differentiate more and more with the fruits and additives that we have. So our original is the grapefruit raspberry. Then we tried an orange, and we played around with our processes a little bit on that one, and ended up dropping a relatively clear. We tried a different yeast, and we added fruits towards the end of the boil versus during fermentation, and ended up being a really great beer. I was actually super pleased with it, but it dropped clear, and a lot of people you know, don't like their milkshakes to be clear. If I got a regular milkshake, I would be kind of puzzled if I could see through it. So I get that. But yeah, no, the orange milkshake we'll definitely revisit, and we'll haze it up and make it even more juicy. And then we had a little bit of a misstep with our peach, and all in all, I think it had the basis for being a really nice beer. But we got a late harvest Columbus that really threw off some really, really gnarly notes, and unfortunately that particular hop affected a few of our other beers that we had to recall in the interest of really, you know, we wanted to put stuff out that we were proud of, and as the beer aged and picked up maybe a little oxidation characters from you know, going to and from warehouses and bars with limited refrigeration, but also just aging over time, the characteristics of those Columbus really came out in a very bad way. So, you know, we definitely want to revisit the peach with an altered hop bill, and probably a little bit of apricot in there just to kind of kick up those notes. We learned after the fact, after talking to a few other local brewers, that if you're going to do a peach beer, you need to have about 50% of the fruit be apricots.
Oh, wow.
So peach is super, super subtle. We kind of knew that going into it, so we put in a little more, and still it didn't really shine over the hops. But this is our last planned milkshake, or more better milkshake for the year, and we really wanted to knock it out of the park and do something big, especially coming off the the issues we had with the peach. So this is 98% Azacca in the boil and in the dry hop with just a little bit of mosaic, just kind of breaks some berry notes. But we used a ratio of 3-to-1 passion fruit puree to pineapple puree, and we whirlpooled and dry hopped with flaked coconut as well.
Oh yeah, that's great.
And that passion fruit was super, super acidic, and while it was really nice and brightened it, we used that coconut to kind of round out that acidity just a little bit. And as you get kind of towards the bottom of your glasses, it warms up, and as you have a little more head space for those aromas to kind of build, that coconut really starts to come in the nose and on the exhale after you sip it for a little while. So we're really stoked on this one. We sent out
really good.
I think we sent out like 8 kegs for distro. We're going to have this serving at Texas Craft Brewers Fest as well. It's going to be a timed release, I believe, relatively early in the day. So we should have it pretty much from when the gates open until close. Nice. Unless obviously if it runs out, it runs out, and we
I mean, that's best case scenario, right? You don't
Yeah.
want to take used beer from a festival back to the pub and try to sell it. I don't even know the legality. of that.
we would dump it. Yeah, I mean,
Well, before you, whoa, before you dump it, I'll be there at the Texas Craft Brewers Festival with this whole setup. Just roll that bad boy down to us. We'll take care of it.
well, I mean, if it has to go back to our distributor before we take it back. So if it gets lost in that transition, that's out of my hands.
Yeah,
So
I got nothing to say with that. We'll just forget that we ever talked about that.
Yeah, I think we could return a keg.
Oh yeah, I think we have a distribution network set up to do just that thing.
yeah, but no, this has really kind of become one of our more popular rotating series. More better is kind of the headlining name, and then we whatever fruit kind of is in the middle, followed up with milkshake Dippa. So it's 8.3%, super smooth. It hides that booze really well.
It's terrifying because it does not taste like a double IPA in the traditional sense, because it's so fruity and awesome on the palate, almost like bubbly.
I'd just by taste aim it at about 7%.
Right.
tops.
Yeah. Yeah, that lactose really rounds it out, that sweetness from the fruit, but it's not cloying. It's
not at all.
It's kind of like eating a mango or a peach. It's and most of those mango and papaya notes and a lot of the pineapple notes actually come from the Azacca versus the pineapple that we threw in there. There's no mango, there's no papaya in it.
Yeah, I've said it once, I'll say it again. I think Azacca is the next big hop. I think everybody's gonna figure it out. Like, hey, fuck Mosaic, Azacca. It's cheaper. I can get a contract for it, and not everyone has a beer named Mosaic something.
Yeah. Well, we just kind of stumbled upon Azacca. Before we were even open, I was trying to get some contracts, and our original Hap Slappy recipes called for Simcoe, it called for Amarillo, it called for Citra, which at the time was really difficult for us to get contracts on unless we were, setting up contracts for like 3 years out. And I was like, man, we're brand new. I'm kind of new to the hop contracting thing, and still we're so small until we kind of start to expand and require more hops. It's still kind of territory that's a little weird. We can contract out, as little as 22, 44 pounds of this hop or that hop just to have to play with. But yeah, we were like, well, we want hops that we can get this harvest year because we're going to be brewing a lot with it. And so I was talking to 47 Hops, my rep there at the time, and she was like, well, there's this new hop called Azacca that's been getting some traction on the experimental market, and this is one of the first years it's really being commercialized. Here's the price per pound. I was like, that's like $5 cheaper per pound than any of the other hops I was looking at.
What a deal.
And I, frankly, it was stupid for me to be like, all right, sign me up for 3 years of, a couple 100 pounds a year and growing that. And thankfully it worked out because it's one of my favorite hops. I use it in all kinds of stuff. And
there's going to be an Azacca Smash next year. Somebody's going to do it, whether it's you guys or somebody else.
we've already done an Azacca Smash.
Oh, yeah? What's the name of it?
Anniversary Ale. It's our first anniversary beer. We brewed it at our first anniversary, released it March 11th. what year is it? 2017. So we released it March 11, 2016. We rebrewed it and released it again for our anniversary this year, 2017. So we definitely plan on rebrewing that again, along with, and we got time, our second anniversary Kolsch, and then we'll be doing a third anniversary as well. And so the way our anniversary beers have kind of worked out, we totally ripped off Schmaltz in their Hebrew series. So they
Cease
did.
and desist is coming soon, just so you know.
I don't think. Well, maybe. Who knows? Oh, Manuel.
I
Dumping
know, I'm
that
horrible.
beer
I'm horrible.
all over Morgan's phone.
I think it'll be all right.
Man.
I think
Hopefully.
So too. I have a screen protector in the case. So.
Yeah. Man, I should have brought my mash paddle, bend him over the table, and spank him for that.
Sorry for that.
No, that's cool.
I'm really just
gonna
sad that I
start making
lost
random
my
ghost
beer.
beers
Like,
for
that
my
is
snack.
horrible.
You can't have mine.
Oh, that's all right.
We're down
There's
to-
more beer.
We're down to the last 2 kegs of it, man. So
Oh, I'll be down
you
there
did
later
yourself
for
a
sure.
disservice.
It still turns on. Totally.
Awesome. Perfect.
I'm gonna leave
All
it
right.
here now, though.
Disaster.
Well, that's the
averted.
only way anyone knew you were still here. So, like, I kind of had to do it, really,
Yeah.
just to kind of like reintroduce you to the conversation. Kind of like, bam.
Honestly, I'm really afraid that I'm going to be the first person to belch into the microphone. Like, I'm trying. I'm like putting.
There you go. I beat you to
Yeah,
it.
I think it. You know, as a craft beer podcast,
I was
a little
just doing
belching.
the chocolate rain thing, you know, like I step away from the mic. To
Well, so I've been doing too. I've been like leaning back and whatever. It'll happen.
Oh,
It'll be my ghost noise.
There you go.
You know.
The ghost
Don't do it.
noise.
Don't do the ghost
Hey,
noise.
that's
Some stay dry while others.
So let's move
Hey,
into
there you
these
go.
crowlers.
Bravo.
We got one crowler left, and why don't you tell me a little bit about how crowling has done for you guys, and if you've seen a decrease in the amount of growler fills now that you guys offer a crowler option.
Sure. Before we get into that, I said we ripped off Schmaltz. Just the idea, for every year old we are, we use that many malts, that many hops. So, not that we really took anything from them, just the idea for that. So, crowlers and growlers. To be frank, I haven't really paid that much attention to the numbers since we got the crowler machine. I feel like our growler sales have gone down a little bit, but only for special release beers. I feel like our growler sales on our mainstays have stayed relatively constant. Now, that's just a gut feeling. I could be completely wrong on that, but
That sound.
that's a House United coffee stop being open. But yeah, I mean, we have our our loyal regulars that swear by this mainstay, that mainstay. They've always gotten growlers of it, and they like having 4 pints versus 2 pints on hand at any given time. So I feel like our overall growlers have certainly decreased, but our overall to-go beer volumes have risen due to the crowlers. It's a nice little supplement, and if you plan on going camping, or if you want to go out on the lake, or go to the disc golf course, or
Or if you just got a
Go
big ass
tubing.
hand, like really, like people are like, oh, it's a growler. No, this is a beer now. This is just a new size that beers come in. You just drink out of it. That's perfect.
I remember when Mission first released their 32
The Cannon,
ounce cans.
yeah. I was really upset that name didn't get more traction because,
Yeah.
I thought Cannon was the perfect name for a 32-ounce beer, and Crowler just kind of seems like cheap.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. No, I mean,
yeah, especially because then people are like, "I'm sorry, did you say growler or crowler?"
Yeah, but Cannon, you're like,
Cannon,
I'll take 4 cannons,
And
please. Like, you
it
sound
fits
like a
into
badass.
the bomber kind of hierarchy
Exactly.
of
It's like
things.
kind of like something that was already established, but whatever.
yeah, I mean, I almost feel, Ball and Oster Blues set up to do the crowler. You would have think that Cask would have jumped on the Cannon branding and gone with it. Who knows them? I don't know how patents and all that work, but there must be a reason some other can company isn't really cranking out a whole ton of 32-ounce cans, at least not for these purposes. But anyways,
Have you ever shotgunned a Crowler?
no, I honestly, I'm not a huge shotgun fan. It is what it is.
You're like the first dude from a brewery that I've ever talked to that's like, nah, I'll pass. Yeah, no shotgunning beers. That's not a thing.
You know,
have the right beer for it.
yeah,
And that's definitely not true. That's definitely not true. I've shotgunned everything from like bourbon barrel aged stout to like to double IPA to Kolsch. Like, fuck it.
I prefer a good rye pills for it. But
Yeah, well,
anything.
R.I.P.
anything
Rye
can
Pills.
be-
Pour one out for
supposedly,
Deep Ellum,
supposedly it was coming
their best
back
beer.
Supposedly it was coming back this last year, right?
like-
And
Well, it
never-
did.
just
It
never
came
did.
back. It came back,
Okay.
and then they ended it again.
Really?
Yes, I was pissed. I was talking to my Benny Keith rep, and I was like, "So you mean last week I could have ordered rye pills, and this week I can't? Are you kidding me? Like, where's the rye pills at? Like, oh yeah, they don't do that anymore.
Man, I must have
I
been
don't know
asking
if I
for
order
it.
your beers anymore.
I
I don't
must
know
have
what you
been.
know about Benny Keith, but you can't not order beer from Benny Keith in Texas.
no, I meant just Deep Ellum.
Oh,
No, I
like
do.
Deep Ellum too.
I do all
too,
the beer
but-
buying at Red Horn
but
as
I like
well.
Red
So
Pills.
all of our
I
guest
like
beers.
that
So
too, but I like that.
hands down, my
Bring that
favorite
beer
beer
back,
I've ever
my
had from Deep Ellum, as far as just a regular drink of that rye pills. And I must have been asking for it on either end of its second coming availabilities, because I was like, hey, when's it coming? Oh yeah, Austin Kaplinger, he was the Deep Ellum rep at the time when I was asking. He's like, oh yeah, it's coming back. Look, here's our seasonal release schedule and blah blah blah. And I was like, okay, great. And then I called again, Benny Keith. I was like, hey, I want that rye pills. I saw that it's back. It's on my calendar. They're like, oh no, we don't have that. That was discontinued. And I'm like, what do you know? It was discontinued a year ago. It's back. They're like,
no.
well, we don't have it in the system.
Discontinued
Sorry. I'm like,
yet again.
well, okay, fine. Well, I give up. But
Yeah, it is pretty bad. I was upset about that. I don't understand that.
you
I guess
get
people,
turkeys.
it's the brewer. It's apparently the brewer. That they also took the rye out of Dream Crusher.
I didn't
Because
know
Dream
Dream
Crusher
Crusher had-
was originally
rye
a double rye, double IPA.
Oh.
So it was like ass loads of rye, boatloads of hops, and it was just like an assault on your palate. And it was great. It was Dream Crusher. It was meant to be aggressive. And now
Tasted
it's
like its own thing.
yeah, and it was a unique thing, and now it's just a regular double IPA that's not very good. Sorry, Deep Ellum.
can't.
Everybody loves rye.
You guys need like a keyboard. With
Yeah,
certain sound effects.
Put that rye back in there.
See, that's the great part about doing recording is that like I could just go back later and like add little
Do
like.
whatever you
"Burp, burp, burp." I don't know if I'm going to, but I could.
Price is Right losing horns.
Yeah. Burp, burp, burp. There you go. That's all I got.
You got to get a good hi hat in there too. But
Yeah, I mean I'm working on that. We got plans to potentially move into having a little like effects board or whatnot. But this is episode 1, guys. Cut me a
This is
break.
Episode 1. I think
Jesus.
we're doing okay.
Yeah, I think we're doing
man,
great.
back in middle school, we always played on our computers before PowerPoint really took over, and there was some other kind of presentation software, and it just had the worst 8-bit sound effects. Just that little da da da, the little hi hat, and then wah, 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 and just, it was so awful. It was great. It's something along the lines of Kid Pigs.
HyperCard?
Maybe Claris Works or something. I don't remember.
Dude, I have not thought about HyperCard since I was like,
Manuel, make that your job. Go back and try and find that soundboard from that shitty
I remember
8-bit,
I had
like
to get a
old
text-to-speech
Macintosh.
thing to say hypothyroidism is a deficiency of hormone production and can be inherited. And that stuck with me. Now I know what hypothyroidism is, and I have for the past 22 years. So
Well, there you go. Learning any way you can. So the one thing that I wanted to cover with you before we wrap it up here is I heard, and I don't know if I can talk about this, but I heard that you guys have plans to potentially expand into other areas of the Austin Metro.
Yeah, I don't know if I can talk about it either, but
Well, let's do it.
what I can say is it's been a goal of ours since before we even opened this second location. It's been the vision to kind of spread us out a little bit. So, we don't have any particular area exactly pinpointed. We have some ideas of where we might like to open up a second location, and we're right now working on trying to expand our capacity at our existing location right now. Moving our kitchen to a different spot in the back of house. To
Did
give
you
us
guys
some
ever
room
get
for
the
more
lease on
fermenters and all
the spot next to you?
No. I don't exactly know where that stands. It is a possibility down the road, but it's kind of nice having them next to us. They bring us people, and I'm sure we bring them customers as well. So, I'm going to table that
I
because
like having that kind of symbiotic relationship.
Yeah,
Like
it's-
us
well,
and
we
Via.
got a cigar shop that opened up 3 doors down from us, so we're actually going to start working with them. We'll kind of, for special events, kind of give them flavor descriptors or maybe even tastings of some of our new beers or beers we're doing with the Tap Takeover, or like for Dark Side of the Wall, or we're doing a month late Oktoberfest deal because we're bad at planning like that. It's great. So
You mean your Oktoberfest is going to come out in October? That sounds horrible.
October 21st, Decktoberfest. But no, we're going to start working with them, and they're going to have a designated chalkboard in their cigar lounge with pairings or pairing suggestions, anyways, for beers that we have up, be it house beers, guest beers, and so that's going to be an awesome symbiotic relationship. But I really don't know what's going on with our neighbors, and that's really the least of my concerns. The bosses and our landlords and the owners of that are talking about it, but I'm right now just trying to make it work in our space, and we're hoping to get a couple of 15-barrel fermenters in there with a 15-barrel bright that'll double our capacity and allow us to do kind of some more experimental stuff and get some more of our Haps Labby, House United, Trail Runner, Wonder Boy Hefe, and seasonals out onto the market, and perhaps some small limited canning runs. But really, with 15 barrels, it's kind of tough to make that make sense. But I think we'll do it just for fun. But yeah, if we do get a second location, we'd probably plan on on a double-sized brewery, maybe a 15-barrel, so we can really kind of actually crank out some cans on a 30-barrel scale and do a little more outside distro with our draft as well. But we'll see where that goes. We're taking steps to check out the feasibility of that, and we definitely plan to stay in the Austin area. I think it fits our business model to try and kind of stay on the outskirts or kind of be that neighborhood bar. We're not looking to go to a bar hotspot, 6th Street or anything like that. I love the places, like having that Brewers Row on East 6th Street, Zilker and Lazarus and Hops and Grain is great. It just doesn't fit us, though. It doesn't fit Red Horn. So, we're looking at areas, maybe South Austin, maybe East Austin, or heck, even go further north. Georgetown's maybe a possibility out towards Drippin'. Really,
I think a Red Horn in South Austin would be dope, or even like Kyle.
Oh yeah,
Buda.
I'd say one kind of like over by Manor would be not Manor the town, but Manor
Road.
would be
I mean, yeah,
good idea.
East Austin Manor neighborhood.
Yeah, we're open to it. We're just kind of seeing what's available and scouting it out, but there's nothing concrete
The
right
only
now.
downside to the east side is then you got to deal with hipsters. They'd be like, well, is this fair trade organic and has it never touched anyone's hands? When it comes to coffee, like that's a whole new thing. Have you heard about this third wave coffee roasting thing?
So technically,
I only drink coffee that's been picked by monkeys.
so technically, I believe we do fall within the third wave.
Ooh, we got a third waver with us.
However, when you start to talk to coffee outside of what's in the coffee stout, that's kind of where I
I'll drink it. I just don't know anything.
close my mouth and not say anything because it's probably not going to be right. And I want to do what we do justice. But yeah, as far as the second location, it's definitely in the plans. I just don't have anything right now to report that's concrete.
No, for sure. Thanks for talking with me about it a little bit. What about packaging coffee? Have you guys ever thought about that? About like putting your coffee in the market?
Yeah. So we're actually working on trying to step that up. We've kind of played with a whole bunch of different retail coffee packaging, and we do have a few small outside accounts. Greenhouse Craft Foods off Old Settlers, just east of 35 in Round Rock, retails our coffee as well. And we do provide nitro cold brew kegs for a handful of spots. Jester King, Growler USA near campus, Growler Bar up in Pflugerville. And we'll kind of have a few rotating appearances at other spots. But as far as like whole bean coffee, that is in the cards. We do plan on stepping that up, I believe, next year. But as far as exact timeline, again, I'm not the coffee guy, man.
Yeah, no.
I see Jared roasting. We're working on getting some new single origin stuff in. We're gonna start playing with some more African and some more South American beans. We're working on getting a house decaf going. I think we do actually have that available now. But also just upgrading our packaging, making it look nice and clean, nice and buttoned up and ready for the outside world.
Yeah,
So-
I've been a big fan of y'all's branding so far and like your logo work and stuff. I think it's real clean and straight to the point and clear and easy to read. Sometimes that's something that gets overlooked by people like, oh, let's make it super crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, no, we it kind of surprised us, but we still get people asking us, so are you guys a chain? Like, where else are y'all? We're like, oh, this is only one. we're a ground up mom and pop operation. But yeah, no, we really got to give props to the guys at Pound Design. That's who does most of our branding and any sort of artwork for us. They put together our Crowler labels. They helped us put together our website and just our general brand image, and they really knocked it out of the park for us. It's just a really nice, clean logo, and that's kind of what I wanted from the get-go, was something that could really just stand on its own. You see it, and you're like, that's awesome. Kind of like the A-Drop or A-Star Drop or whatever they want to call it at Beer Works, what that Helms Workshop put together for them. It's awesome.
Yeah.
You see that, and you know that's awesome. Beer
Oh, yeah,
Works.
they murdered that one. Except for the
most
fact
part.
that everyone thinks it's Avery.
That's exactly what I was about to say.
I've never heard anybody mistake that, but I
I've
mean,
only heard about 1 million people.
man.
I'll take that
I'm
Avery
sorry,
Pearl Snap.
You'll notice that Avery is in Colorado, and none of these beers are from Colorado.
Yeah, no, I mean,
It's like when people think Devil's Backbone is from Virginia.
Well, that's because Devil's
yeah.
Backbone is from Virginia.
Indeed.
But everybody
And
can
it
say
does look a fair amount like the
Yeah.
Avery drop. too, or
And
whatever.
fuck Devil's Backbone. I could say that now because they're part of the...
AB and
yeah, they're part of
yeah.
the problem. Our community-wide problem of people taking the buyout to smash craft brewers. God damn it.
That's a good beer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was
also-
going to ask you, since we were talking about coffee, what can you tell us about the coffee here in the House United?
It's awesome.
That was what I was having my own personal kind of
So-
thing about over here. I was
Yeah.
just like, God damn, this is delicious.
So we
But you
use
guys were talking.
we use a single origin Costa Rican bean. So the Costa Rican gives a very light citrus, but really what I get from it is big chocolate
Oh,
and,
yeah,
and
for sure.
just a little bit of kind of a clean earthiness. But yeah, it's enormous on the chocolate, and that roast is nice and deep without being bitter or
it
astringent.
comes through so well. It's
Yeah, and the fun thing, the thing that I really love about our coffee stout is, it started off being 5.4%, and we tweaked it a little bit, and we modified the malt bill just to give it a little more body by adding some flaked malts. And what actually came out of that, we also increased the lactose sugar just a touch. But what came out of it was a slightly less fermentable wort. And we actually mash it kind of cool. Relatively speaking, but the yeast likes to stop right about 4.5. Sorry, no, let me do my math. 5.5 Play-Doh or so. So it does have a nice residual sweetness, but so much of that is from the proteins and other unfermentables from those flaked malts that really just kind of boost that body. It's only 4.7% for
it's
a
tasty,
stout with such big aromas, big flavor. So the way we treat this, it's like 30% specialty malts. We use a lot of English chocolate, pale chocolate, a little bit of German debittered black malt, Carafa 3 special is what that's called. We use a little bit of roasted barley and a little bit of special B to kind of give it like a deep raisin note. The rest is just 2-row. There's actually no Munich in it. I thought there was, but yeah, it's 2-row, the specialty roasted malts, a little special B and flaked malts. And then we add lactose sugar at the end of the boil, and then we add 1 gallon per barrel of house-made cold brew. We always have that on hand. We're making about, I'd say, a little over 100 gallons of cold brew a week, and that number's constantly climbing. And then at cold crash, when we lower the temperature after fermentation to get all the yeast to kind of fall out and all those other solids to rest out, so we have a nice clean beer. We'll take coarse ground coffee, about 8 pounds of it, and drop that into the tank and just let it rest for about three or 4 days. Actually, sorry, 2 or 3 days. We get really great extraction, and it's super smooth, low acidity. And what we used to do when we first got going was we would lower the temperature, which is actually now a relatively popular method for adding whirlpool hops. So we lower the temperature in the kettle after the boil, then add coarse ground bean coffee and steep that. And we were kind of getting a little bit of not an astringent note, but kind of like an ashy, almost burnt note from that. So we decided, you know what, let's try adding a little cold brew. Let's brew it intentionally a little bit stronger. Then we'll, quote unquote, I hate saying it, but watered down with cold brew. You know, we'll get it down. We'll get it down to our desired gravity with the cold brew.
Yeah, but anything that gets watered down with cold brew, that's like
Yeah.
a big star for me. Like,
Yeah.
you mean you're going to
I
put
think there are
caffeine in
There
it?
are worse things you could water things
Yeah,
down.
yeah.
with,
Well,
for
we've
sure.
actually had this lab tested by
Like
White
water, for
Labs,
instance.
and a pint has about half the amount of caffeine as a 12-ounce cup of coffee.
That's
That's going to
awesome.
be the next question I have.
that's-
We're
it's-
putting cold brew straight in.
Yeah,
it.
so a pint of House United coffee stout's going to have between 15 and 20 milligrams of caffeine in it.
So can I get like a cold brew floater in a House United?
It's been asked. Yeah, I mean, our nitro cold brew, we do sell flights of it. Yeah, I mean, drink your House United halfway and just kind of do a cold brew bomb in it. And
Sounds
finish it
good to
up.
me. Boilermaker, that bad boy.
There you go. But no, so House United, kind of going back to what I said at the very beginning, it's really the melding of the two sides of our business. You know, the coffee and the beer, both are made in-house, both are combined in-house. And while it may not be our best seller, that title is reserved for our blonde and our IPA. Shocking, right?
This
But this
should
is
be your flagship.
this
as
is
far as
really
title
what
goes. So
this is really what we're all about.
Yeah.
You know, it's super drinkable. It's 4.7%. It's not going to knock you on your ass, but you know, you can sip on it throughout the day. It'll give you a nice little caffeine jolt, natural caffeine jolt. We don't want it to be, you know,
As it warms
through
up,
the
it-
roof,
it
but-
only gets better.
That's like the kind of the red or vodka Red Bull kind of accelerant.
Oh, yeah,
Except
exactly.
for, like, it doesn't taste like terrible.
Yeah.
monster.
we don't want that. We don't want that combination. We don't want the TABC or the TTB coming and shutting us down because there's a little bit of
Four Loko.
natural caffeine in there. But yeah, no, it's an awesome beer, and it's the first recipe we thought we nailed. But then after a while, we were like, you know, let's see. And again, being super small production, we maybe are gonna do 600 barrels this year. Maybe we're probably gonna be closer to like 575 or something like that. But you know, being so small, it's one of the little privileges I guess we have of being so tiny. We can kind of tweak our mainstay recipes without a whole ton of backlash, and thankfully this one turned out very much for the better with those tweaks.
Yeah,
And,
I'm really happy with it. It's been at least a year since I've had House United, and I got to say I like it a little better. I like the sweetness. I like the lack of astringency because the last time I had it had a little bit of a astringent note to it.
Yeah.
But this is great.
Yeah,
I like
now,
it.
Adding that cold brew at the end of the whirlpool instead of the whole bean coffee just completely transformed it.
Yeah.
And yeah, just dry steeping those beans at Cold Crash really just kicks it up a whole extra notch, and it actually ages super, super well, which for a 4.7% beer, you wouldn't think that. But we're actually going to be doing a little bit of a Garrison Brother Bourbon Barrel version of this, hopefully to release towards the end of the year. We're only going to give it about 2-3 months in the barrel. We don't need a whole ton in there. But also we need to open it up for, we have what we call a Continental Breakfast Stout, which is going to be about 8.5% for an export stout base with maple and coffee.
That sounds
And
good.
We might actually throw some pancakes and waffles into the the
Yes.
mash tun just for fun.
I love people who are not afraid to do something that sounds like it's going to be horrible because you never know, right?
I mean, really, all it's adding is carbohydrates, which you know
Fair enough.
should
Ferment
ferment
not so
out
far
well.
off.
And, yeah, you know, really, it's just kind of something stupid we could take photos of and post it up on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. But we're definitely going to be brewing that beer next month, and so as soon as we transfer the Bourbon Barrel House United out, we're going to be filling it up with that coffee maple Continental Breakfast Stout. So,
Continental Breakfast Stout. You heard it here first.
yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Zach, for coming and talking with us today. I really appreciate it.
Cheers, guys. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and it was cool to talk and like maybe tell some folks who didn't know what Red Horn is that there's this excellent brewery just a little bit north of town that is making great beers, has some good people, and like you say, is their motto is to do good. I think that's something that's unique because most people's motto is get all the money. Get it. Give me that money. And so, like,
I mean,
it's
mine
cool
is
to
the
see
I do
that.
well. Superman does good.
Yeah.
Do good, be positive, have fun. So like I
Yeah.
said, our other founders and our two owners, they're actually out and about doing charity events with Texas Bama Jam, who supports Texas Breast Cancer Resource Fund or Resource Group. Sorry, and we're actually doing a charity beer that we're releasing October 1st on a Sunday. I want to get this out. All of our profits for that beer is called Pure Faith. It's a raspberry lemon Berliner Weiss. It is bright hot pink.
Hold on, did you say raspberry lemon Berliner Weiss?
Yeah.
I don't know if you heard that, folks. Raspberry lemon Berliner Weiss. Hell yeah, that sounds amazing.
So, we brewed it last year as a big hit. This year we brewed twice as much. We're going to distribute a little bit of it, but all of our profits during the month of October from that beer are going to benefit the Breast Cancer Resource Group.
Is that going to make it out to the market for distribution?
It should. It should. Yep. We plan on sending out maybe a barrel and a half, 2 barrels of it. So
I think I could draw a ribbon.
Yeah. Yeah. We just need to see what our final yields are. We're transferring into cellar tomorrow. Into conditioning tomorrow, and once we figure out exactly how much we're going to yield from it, that'll determine how much we send out for distro. But it'll definitely be available all through October and probably into November. On site at Red Horn, and then a few select locations. We'll definitely make sure to call up Craft Pride, see if y'all want to bring that on.
Well, thank you. We appreciate that. And also, thank you for brewing a seasonally inappropriate style. I'm really kind of like upset that people don't brew more like summer beer styles in the summer, because summer never stops here.
Dude,
we get like cold fronts,
There
but
is
we don't
no-
get seasons. It's
There
just
is
summer.
no seasonally inappropriate beer in Texas. Really. Unless you're brewing like an Imperial Stout or a Doppelbock in like,
July
say,
and
July.
August.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, we got 3 kettle sours. One on the board right now that we drank earlier. That collaboration we did with the Brutorium, but we have a watermelon basil goza we're going to be releasing in the next couple days. We just kegged it off today. We got the raspberry lemon Berliner Weiss coming out in a couple weeks. So we're going to have 3 kettle sours up. We got some IPAs. We're eventually going to be moving to stouts, but an Imperial IPA and all kinds of other stuff. So we just brew what we like and fuck the seasons. We're
There you go. You heard it. Fuck the seasons from Red Horn
what are we
Coffee
thirsty
and
for?
Beer.
That's what we're gonna make.